Gerard, congratulations on the film. A tough watch, which I kind of expected, but a really compelling one as well. You wrote it and you directed it, as you always do. Where did the inspiration come from for the story?
Um, yeah, it's, the original idea I had quite a number of years ago, probably about, what are we in now, 2020, probably about 15 years ago, where I was, you know, going to the gym a lot, and it was just about the time of you know, personal trainers and everything. I mean, now it's exploded. And you know, most people have a sort of understanding about nutrition now, and everyone's a member of a gym. But even if you go back 15 years, it wasn't quite the case. It was still sort of a very small percentage. So I was interested in that, you know, a story of a personal trainer that takes over someone's life, you know, that's completely pushy and gets them, you know, an expert on nutrition, but then it becomes more and more strange, and it becomes like almost an obsession in the end. So that was my initial idea, and I had like a 2-page outline of it, as I say, about 15 years ago, and it was just sitting there for quite a while, and I had got in contact with the producer, Matt Wilkinson, and he said, "What have you got anything? Have you got any things that you're working on?" So I said, "There's this one thing that I sort of want." I think by that point I'd written like a 60-page script, and so it was going back to that and sort of finishing it off, really. Yeah, so that was it. But yeah, it was from going to these gyms and seeing certain characters in gyms, and sort of taking that to a more extreme level.
You hadn't done telesales as well, had you?
Very much, yeah. So that product that he sells in Muscle is exactly the product that I was selling. I used all my old scripts, all my old documents, sales pitch and everything else. It was all exactly how it was, yeah. And used to ring the bell and go up and put your sales up on the board. So it was all, and I remember doing that job and thinking, you know, there's a sort of British Glengarry Glen Ross here, having to be stuck in those rooms and doing that job. So in a way, it was 2 ideas formed into one film. So it was good, yeah. But yeah.
Yeah. So as I said, you've written the script, you've directed it, and that's something you do with all of your feature films. Why do you do both jobs, or do you actually not consider them to be separate?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think it just gives you that element. I mean, I much prefer obviously writing and directing, because obviously you know, you're controlling it all the way along, and you just know that inside out. Whereas when you direct stuff, you have to get a real understanding of what someone's trying to say before even getting onto that stage, you know. So I do prefer, obviously I have sort of been attached to things just as a director, but for me, yeah, writing and directing is the ultimate, really, because it's just obviously there's more work in it involved, and you know, there's nowhere to hide, so to speak. But for me, it's just the ultimate, really, to just write and direct. But as I say, I do get offers just to direct stuff, and I've been attached to stuff as a director. But normally, you know, there's a long period of development, you know, especially American stuff, where it goes off for like a couple of years, and you're attached to this thing and you end up, you know, it just becomes frustrating. And that's also the reason why I write as well, is because I know that at least if I'm driving it, if I've written it, then it's not, I'm gonna get it made, you know.
So would you consider letting somebody else direct your script?
That's a tricky one, actually, because I have to, to write something, I really have to fall in love with it. And to fall in love with it, then I wouldn't want to see anyone else direct it,
You want to let go because it's
No.
yours.
Whereas the other way around, I would all the time, work with writers and direct something. But yeah, I'm not saying never, because you never know that situation. But yeah, to invest so much time in writing something, I would definitely then want to be the person that brings it to the screen.
So I spoke to Cavan, who plays Simon in the film, and he says that the two of you kind of got on just instinctively. It was just one of those things. How would you describe your working relationship with him?
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, we're both the same age. We'd never met each other before, but we knew some of the same people. We come from similar areas in London. So there was a lot of cross-reference stuff going on, So, and we just hit it off straight away, which is very important for obviously your lead actor, to have that relationship. And I find that's a big part of how I work is to build those relationships, way ahead of, by the time we end up on set. It's very important that we have such a shorthand before we get on the film set, and that's why I have a long sort of development process. It's kind of like a workshop process, but where we get a room and chat about stuff. I mean, we may not even pick up the script sometimes. We'll just chat about, our past and various things, and bring a lot of that stuff into the script if needed. But also, it's just important for me, once you're on a film set, because a film set is so hectic, if you've got that shorthand with your cameraman, your DOP, and your actors, that's what's important, so that then you've just, hopefully you're plain sailing, on a set, because you've got so much noise all the time that's one little thing. You're not going to get an actor coming up to you and saying, "Hey, I'm really stuck here. What's happening?" You've covered all that, and everyone's as confident as you are in what they need to do.
So you're sort of investing time beforehand, ready for the shoot.
So
actually,
important.
That's quite unusual, because so often you don't have the luxury of that time beforehand when you're making a film.
No, absolutely. And even, as I say, I was attached to bigger American films, and the same thing again. It was more of a struggle to fight for that, but it was also important that I had that. It was, even as early as meetings, you talk about that process that you need to protect. I just find it as important as the shoot. Really, it's that development process where you spend quality time with the actors in a sort of nice environment, and just for me, that is so important for the finished product. So
what made you choose Cavan for the role of Simon, and indeed Craig Fairbrass for Terry? We'll come on to him in a moment.
Well, Cavan, we did an audition process, and Cavan came in and impressed me so much. He at one point he flew across the room and attacked one of the producers in character, because I broke down. I actually I'd written a separate little scene for auditions, which I like to do sometimes, is something unconnected to the film, a little scene just to maybe show them, to show their skills off a little bit more. So I wrote a little workshop environment, which was based around a call center, and Cav just went for it and flew across the table at one point. So I think it was from there, really, that and also it was that the fear factor of having to change body shape in those 3 months. We had a 3-month gap where he had to have a personal trainer and to change body shape. So it was someone that wasn't afraid, and you'd be surprised. There's a lot of actors who are terrified and wouldn't do something like this. I mean, or would expect to be paid you know, Tom Hardy kind of money, you know, to do it. But a lot of actors would be like, "You're joking? No, that's not. I'm not doing this. Why would I? You know, why would I be put through this hell of trying to change shape for a feature film?" But you know, it just shows you when you get someone as committed as Cav, it's all up there on screen, you know, and it's an amazing transformation midway through the film.
It is. What about Craig Fairbrass?
Yeah, well, Craig, you know, when I was writing Terry, there wasn't many actors that I could picture that could carry off Terry. You know, if you think about it, of his age and his physical presence, and you know, the and also Craig is, you know, I know is very good at comedy as well as being quite frightening. So it was those elements that I'd sort of I'd met him a couple of times just socially, but there was something about him that I just knew that this was an amazing part for him, and I knew he'd do it justice. And I couldn't think of another actor that could really pull off Terry.
And you've also used some non-actors in the film as well. I think in one of the party scenes, and also there's that scene when Terry brings home some so-called friends, and that actually ends up being one of the most intimidating scenes in the film. How did that come about?
I always, same with Hyena and Tony, I always have a mixture of professionals and non-professionals in there. You know, I like to create there's an element of I think a non-professional will make a professional better, and vice versa. A professional will bring out, you know, I like that mixture of you know, when you're filming in real locations, which I always do as well. It's nice to actually use that environment, you know. So the gym, it was important for me. If I'm going to go up to Newcastle and film a film in a gym, I want to get those real people in the film. There's nothing worse than getting a bunch of supporting artists that have never been to the gym, shoving them all in there, you know, and actors that are just, for me, it just, what's the point? You know, you need to spend that time with people. And obviously people have got to, I mean, I have sort of casting process of seeing people, and we do scenarios and everything else, and we work with non-actors, and there's people that really are brilliant at it, you know, a natural performance, and obviously they're the people that you want to use in the film. Obviously there's people that are not quite so good, so it's that element. But again, that's why you need the time. I needed the time up there to really use a lot of these guys and getting the guys from the gym, the guys that use that gym every day, and it was important to sort of work with them, and they completely trusted me in the end, you know, and felt relaxed enough to give, and they were more or less doing it for me, you know. And that's the important thing, because once you get on a film set, it's very different. When you've got, it's okay doing it in a room with just me, but when you've got a film set of 100 people, suddenly it becomes a little bit intimidating. But these guys were great, you know, and it's an exciting part of what I enjoy about it, you know, is working, getting performances not only out of established professional actors, but also people that have maybe never been on a film set before.
Now, you shot the film in black and white. I wondered why you decided to go for that, and whether it perhaps caused any, I don't know, resistance in terms of you getting it distributed, because let's face it, you know, everybody expects colour nowadays. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I got a lot of resistance actually getting the finance for a black and white film, and we ended up being financed by France, so it was completely French money that made the film, which sort of is quite fitting in a way, because there's a lot of French influence in the film. There was sort of two reasons. There was a lot of black and white photography that I was looking at very early on in the process. You know, a lot of boxing photography, a lot of gym photography of old spit and sawdust gyms. So from a very early start in the process, I only thought about the film in black and white. Also, there was a big influence of the British New Wave of the 1960s, Taste of Honey, Saturday Night, Sunday Morning, This Sporting Life. A lot of those films were set in northern industrial towns, which was also my reason of Newcastle. I wanted to see if there was any sort of anything left of the old crumbling, you know, post-industrial revolution stuff up there, you know, with the old crumbling gyms and factories and everything else, to see what was left. And Newcastle was the city that I fell in love with most. And it just had that atmosphere, you know. So there was a couple of things going on. And also, yeah, it just, for me, it was important. I only ever really imagined it in black and white, for the gyms and those, you know, little old cobbled streets and the factories, which are now call centres. So that was the reason. But yeah, since then, you know, since I mean, obviously we were going to film it in 2015, and then I got an American film that ended up didn't happen. So we went back again in 2018, but originally in 2015 it was the idea to shoot in black and white. Since then, obviously, you've got Bay and The Lighthouse, you know, so there's always these black and white films that come back, and everyone says, hey, it's black and white, it's, you know, it's fantastic, but it is a struggle.
It does add to the atmosphere though, and also I think it has a slightly sort of grubby feel, which works rather well.
I get that a lot.
Story.
I get that a lot.
Yeah,
might be something to do. It might be something to do with the party scene somehow.
No, I wasn't thinking of those at all.
Yeah.
And of course, we're you know, coming to the end of lockdown, hooray! Which means that the film is actually going to be in cinemas in at least certain parts of the country. Anyway, I wondered how you felt about it making it to the big screen.
Oh, it's for me, it's brilliant. Very important, because there was a time, obviously, we had this date for quite a while. And it was looking like a few weeks ago that it was not going to happen. I mean, obviously, you've got to adapt to the current climate, haven't you? I mean, you know, luckily, streaming is become so good now, and it's become quite a big thing that it's not a dirty word anymore. Whereas, you know, 10 years ago, if it was released on all platforms at the same time, everyone would, you know, you'd be slightly disappointed. But nowadays it's not. But obviously for me, it's massively important for it to be seen at the cinema. I mean, it's designed to be at the cinema, like all of these films. You know, you spend a lot of time designing it to be watched in a cinema with the right sound and the right, you know, ratio and everything else. So yeah, it's great that you know, it was, you know, that we were lucky enough, because if we'd have picked this week, obviously it would have just gone straight to streaming. So we're lucky enough to at least, it's a shame because places we were set to play Newcastle, Manchester, you know, so yeah, it's unfortunate, but hopefully those cinemas will be able to do like an online streaming thing as well. So people in those cities won't miss out. But I was ready to do the Q&As and everything. But I'm just grateful that at least there is going to be some cinemas that are going to be showing it.
And hopefully that number will increase as time goes on as well.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, we don't know, do we? We're sort of every couple of weeks. We're just hopeful.
So, well, I hope plenty of people get to see it, because it's certainly worth seeing. It's a really great film. Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Thanks
talking
very much.
to you.
And you. Thanks very much.